This is the Khmer Times News. My name is Paolo Bonini, and these are your headlines. An enormous quantity of drugs is seized by officials. Families who tried cheating a police exam want their money back, and a decline in household income will put a very severe strain on many families. But it's first to our headline story. How much is a lot of drugs? A suitcase full would be rather a lot, I feel. Well, how about a van full? That certainly would thrill any customs officer who intercepted it. Well, 3 women took that so much further as they were captured with an eye-watering 194 kilos of illegal drugs, and that is over 2 tons of gear. Wow. And they did not stick to one type of drug. They had the entire range, be it heroin, ecstasy, ketamine, and one drug I have never even heard of, and I had to look it up on Google. They were captured red-handed at their property with this mountain of contraband. And now, the only future that they can look forward to is the grim and dark world of life in an Asian jail for an awful long time, if not the rest of their natural lives.
The Phnom Penh municipal courts have charged and detained 3 women for allegedly possessing and trafficking nearly 194 kilograms of methamphetamine, MDMA, heroin, ketamine, and nimotazepam. And it is that last one that I have had to look up because I've never heard of it. It is in fact a bit like Valium, as it is a sedative. Lieutenant Colonel Sareth of the Drug Enforcement Office said that the 3 women were charged with drug possession, transportation and trafficking under Article 40 of the Law on Drugs Control, and they face a life sentence each if convicted. And that is one dark, depressing future to have laid out before you. The women were arrested by police of the Anti-Drug Department in the Ministry of Interior, in collaboration with police from other districts. Their arrests came after they had transported the drugs from the Cambodian-Lao border at Stung Treng province, and they had moved this vast volume of drugs to their own houses. And it seems their aim was to distribute this vast quantity to Phnom Penh as well as outlying areas. Now this is certainly a very major bust, and although it is certainly a success, its enormity is a very sobering indicator as to the huge quantity of drugs that are now flooding the kingdom's streets.
A prison official has been dumped very firmly in the spotlight when she allegedly defrauded 11 families out of a whopping $90,000. But in this case, the victims are not entirely blameless, for if you are going to engage in illegal activities with a less than honest official, sometimes that less than honest official may well rip you off as well. And that is exactly what happened. The 11 families from Battambang went to the corrupt official and offered a bribe to change the results in an upcoming national police exam. But the official took the money and did nothing to help the families alter those exam results. The families themselves are extremely upset that their dishonest intentions failed and have now sent a request to the Deputy Prime Minister saying that they have been cheated. But have they really been cheated? For are they not the cheaters themselves, and when entering into such an endeavour of dishonesty, must realise that the cheaters can be cheated?
11 families have filed a joint complaint against a prison official, saying that she defrauded them of more than $90,000 after saying she would corruptly obtain exam results for the National Police exam. The families from Battambang province filed the joint complaint against the provincial prison officer named Sim Sukan, alleging that she had defrauded them out of the 90,000, which is a staggering amount of money. It's nearly $10,000 for each family. And we can safely assume that these 11 families are not the first involved in this scam. So that leaves you wondering, doesn't it? How much money has been collected by Ms. Sukan over the past years? The families have even asked the Deputy Prime Minister as well as the Minister of Interior to help them recover their bribe money. They have in fact stated, each of us in the 11 families handed over the money to Miss Sim Sakun at her own home with numerous eyewitnesses. So, they don't deny being willing participants in this illegal activity. For what they expected in return for this load of money was that Miss Sim said she would help them with the results in the National Police exam. But on the day of the exam, the answers to the exam paper were not delivered as promised. But in a move which will surprise absolutely nobody watching this report, Miss Sim, the corrupt official, refused to return the money. Well, who would have guessed that one? The 11 families caught up in this web of deception have been working very hard to get their money back. Firstly, they filed a complaint to the Battambang Provincial Hall and the Governor, and they did that not once but 3 times. But they did not get their money back. So now they have petitioned the Deputy Prime Minister and the Minister of Interior to help them get a refund, and in their words, find justice. Is it me, or does willingly entering into a wholly illegal transaction with a corrupt official, then expecting it to come with some kind of money-back guarantee, seem a trifle odd? I mean, where does it all end? It's like suing Rolex, as your knockoff fake copy you got from the market for $15 does not keep time. You play with fire, you will occasionally get burned. And when you're doing a deal that certainly comes with no receipt, then maybe it's a case of buyer beware.
There has been considerable optimism that household incomes would rise, but the fact is the reverse has happened. It has in fact declined. And not by a small amount, it is almost a full 2%. And the reason is a drop in salaries. And with a never-ending rise in the cost of living, this is having a very detrimental effect on household incomes. With less money in the family pot, there are many tough decisions to be made, be it healthcare or education, or even trying desperately to build up a small nest egg for any of life's unexpected calamities. And the truth is, many families have also taken on loans that they can ill afford. And with this income decline, it will only increase the pressure to pay even the most basic of bills.
The average monthly household income has declined by 1.8% to $385 per month in the first quarter of 2023. A survey questioned thousands of people in 5 regions and showed that the monthly household income has declined as high as 2.4%. But there is one single area that bucks that trend, and that is Phnom Penh, where it has in fact risen by 1.3%. A spokesperson for the survey has said, While the average monthly household income in the capital is slightly improving, the rest of the regions are still experiencing reduced monthly household income, as over 1/3 mentioned their income has decreased due to job cuts and salary reductions. And it is here that we discover the disparity. For Cambodian consumers who live in the capital earn on average $648, whereas those in the outlying regions receive almost exactly half of that amount, for they get approximately $320 a month. And that number is declining. This issue is not only about income, but with a reduced salary, there are much tougher truths to be faced, such as paying for healthcare and for education. And these two factors alone can define the very future of any family.
Severe staff shortages are now severely affecting the hospitality sector, as the industry is facing an acute shortage of skilled workers, especially chefs, but also waiting staff, cleaners, maintenance men, etc. Industry insiders have revealed that the lack of adequate human resources could well prove disastrous, and they are urging the government to set up more hospitality training institutes to address the shortage that could hamper the nation's tourism plans. At the heart of the issue is any qualified staff are migrating to other nations that offer a much more competitive salary, leaving the kitchens and the hallways of the kingdom's hotels devoid of skilled employees. And that is having a very detrimental effect on the quality of service that tourists receive. Speaking to the Khmer Times, a senior manager who handles recruitment at a leading hospitality group said the industry is heading for a crisis unless the right steps are taken by the government to supply more trained staff. He said, "Every country in the region, be it Thailand, Vietnam or Malaysia, is putting in their best efforts to boost the tourism sector, and they are recruiting all the high-skilled local workers." He added, "It's from guest relation managers to chefs. The skilled worker spectrum within the industry is simply vast. The hospitality sector in Cambodia can't hire staff by offering salaries of up to $50,000 a year, whereas in Thailand, Vietnam or Malaysia, they can easily accommodate these wages, and that has left a huge gap in the industry. And it is not just the upper end. It affects all levels of personnel." And it is right here that the root of the problem lays. The demand for skilled staff is extremely high, and this acute demand means that salaries have been raised in other regional countries. But those higher salaries are well beyond the benchmark for Cambodia's industry standards. This means in five-star hotels there's an awful lot of inexperienced staff, and the lack of chefs is so acute that some larger hotels have closed their kitchens, and many mid-range restaurants are running kitchens that are woefully understaffed. And this is all having a very severe knock-on effect for the rest of the tourism industry. It's time to have a look ahead and see what the weather has in store for us next week. And here is your weather report. So what we're going to do is look out of one of my windows, and what do we see is actually what's going on with the weather. And that is in the distance there. You'll see some water because there has been some cloud and some rain hitting hard. As we switch over to the chart, we see this staggered effect is what we're going to expect all of next week. There will be some soaring humidity, but that will come crashing down exactly the same time as the rain does. This has been the Khmer Times News. Please do subscribe and comment and stay up to date with all the breaking news by following us on both Facebook and Telegram. This has been Paolo Bonini, and that was the week that was. I'll see you next weekend for your weekly roundup.